Hey guys, what's up? This is Don again, and welcome to the fourth and final part of the VideoFort Sports Ident tutorial series. And if you've been following along step by step, you should be somewhere like this. And we've finished all of the animation, and we've set up everything in the scene that needed setting up, and I thought I would just quickly go through some final checks before we jump into After Effects for the compositing work. So if I go to my render settings, this is really the only section which I thought might be worth just checking over again for the benefit of anyone who might be still confused. So, these are the settings which I used. For my save, I saved as a PNG, so it's going to be an image sequence, and because it's PNG, I can render this with an alpha channel. So all of this empty space up here, there's going to be no pixels in those areas, and that may be useful for other things as well, such as changing the background in After Effects. Another thing too is I've set the depth to 16-bit, which will just give me more latitude and information if I want to change how the image looks, things like brightness and contrast adjustments. Alright, and that's it. The most important thing in this section is this compositing project file. You want to make sure that you save this. The target application should be After Effects, and make sure that include 3D data is ticked. Again, I will try and provide some links to other videos which cover this whole exchange process between Cinema 4D and After Effects. I'm gonna actually upgrade to After Effects CC soon. I'm always behind with updates and stuff, just because I'm too lazy to try and replace all of my plugins. But this whole process of taking your scene to After Effects from Cinema 4D, it's a lot easier with the new version of After Effects. It's all automated. But I'll give you some links to check out, and you should be able to manage regardless. Alright, so enough talking. Let's go into After Effects and start playing around with this scene. So after you run the render, it should appear something like this. So you have your image sequence starting from frame 1 all the way to however long your animation was. And then also in that folder, if you use the old export method, you should have a file called whatever .aec. And this is the Cinema 4D composition, and After Effects will recognize the format. Anyway, you want to hit open, and this will bring in a new folder now into your project section, and already the scene will be comped for you, and it will also contain the 3D data from Cinema 4D. So here you can see that there's a camera, and then all these lights here, and these are the flare lights that we set up earlier in Cinema 4D. So this looks quite cluttered. I can clean this up and just leave only the things which I need. So I don't need these other cameras that were used for the morph camera setup, so I can delete these three things. Okay, I have these lights in the scene. Obviously we need these, so I'm just gonna select all of them and then click the hide switch and then click the toggle switch up here, and that should hide everything. It's still in the scene, but it just means that my work area is cleaner. Alright, so looking at this, we definitely need a background because these pixels are empty. I have toggled the transparency switch, so that's why you can see through. But still, it's always good to have an actual background back there. So just get a solid and place it behind everything, and we should have something like this. If this stuff back here, you know, these objects that you can see in the scene, if this is too distracting for you, you can press Shift, Control, and H on the keyboard, and that should hide all the objects. So now we just have the clean scene. Alright, I'm gonna start by actually placing those lights back here, and if you remember, I said this was gonna be done with optical flares. So if I get a new solid, let's call this lights, and I want to go to Effect, Video Copilot, and optical flares. It's slightly off screen there, but you know, it's there. Alright, I'm gonna set the positioning mode to track lights, and this will latch on to the, I think, the 3 main lights in the scene. If I just unhide everything here, it's gonna latch on to the key, fill, and backlight. So actually, I think I'm gonna just rename these. You'll see why in a second. The key can stay the same, but this fill light, I need to change this to something else. Let's call it second light, because in optical flares, there's a thing here where you can select which lights to use as position reference. This name starts with control. It allows you to choose light names which start with a certain letter. So all of our lights are called flare, so we need them to start with F. And now the optical flare will use those lights as reference, but clearly there's still nothing going on here. And that's because optical flares also references the intensity and scale of the light, and if you remember, we set that to 0 in Cinema 4D in order so that the lights didn't affect the scene. We just wanted them as placeholders, but when I untick those 2 switches, now it's basically too bright. So I have to go to the scale here and I just dial this back to something more manageable, so maybe something like 10, and now you see what's happening. Also, I don't really want to use the light color. I want a bit of that blue from that flare. And by the way, the lights you saw in the example project, it was just this default flare that you get in optical flares with some adjustments made. So I switched off some of these elements which kind of stick out to the side here. I only wanted the center element, especially the center, which, you know, this bit which is glowing, and the rest was basically hidden, so you didn't see it basically. And I think I want to hide this glint, this spike ball over here. I like how that looks, but these arms are too long, so I'm gonna dial the scale back to about 10. So something like this, and if I click OK, I start to see what this looks like. Now these lights are definitely getting in the way, so let me hide everything, and there you go, we have something like this. It's looking good, but I think it's a bit too hazy. The radius of that glow effect is a bit too much. So let me try and restrict it slightly. If I go back in here, I can go to global parameters. Rather, if I go to the glow layer here, which is this is doing most of the that haze effect. I want to go to the settings over here, and this gamma control, I need to lower this to something like maybe 0.5. And then if I click OK, that's perhaps too low. I can go back and maybe change it to 0.65, and that seems slightly better. And maybe I can bring up the scale to 15, and now it's really looking like how I want. Maybe bump up the brightness to about 125 or so, and basically, you know, just minor adjustments until I have the look that that I want, and this looks fine. Set the layers blending mode to screen, and let's hide these lights again so we can see a bit better. And there you go. Now we have the lights in the background. But as I scrub through this, I can see one problem straight away is how, you know, these lights should be cut off by the text as it's unfolding like this. You can clearly see that this light is supposed to be behind there somewhere. And Optical Flares has a really cool feature which allows you to set up occlusion layers, so that when pixels move in front of where a light is, the light will disappear and reveal again when the object passes. So if you go to foreground layers, and here you can have multiple layers actually in this occlusion thing, but we only have one layer, and it's our render. And when I do that, now the lights where the text is in front of will be blocked, and they will reappear after the text passes, and this is more realistic. It's very, you know, subtle, but it does make a difference. Okay, next up, we want to do that drawing of the lines you saw in the preview video. That's the only element still missing in this whole scene. I have the file in the project here just so we can scrub through this and see what's missing. So we have the lines, obviously, and also there's these particles floating in front of the logo, and then another element is this lens dirt effect. We'll get to that, but let's go ahead and start building these lines. For this, we're going to need a new comp. I'm going to set this to 2048 by 2048. I've done this before, so those settings are already there. And the comp name, let's call this lines. Duration 8 seconds, which is the same as our current comp, and click OK. And in here we're going to add an adjustment layer, get the pen tool, and if I enable the title and action safe, I can see where the center is, and then I just want to draw a line straight down the center horizontally like this. And then if I go to effects and presets, let's get the stroke effect. It's under the generate submenu, and you can see the mask line is actually kind of covering the white line there, so let's hide the mask for now. And the brush size, I'm gonna set this to maybe 15. We can always change this later, but for now set it to 15, and the hardness will be set to 100, and we just want to animate this end control here so that the line draws on. So at frame 0, this is going to be 0. Set a keyframe and then move forward, let's say 3 seconds. And just set this to whenever it hits the edge. So we just have this basic animation, nothing too fancy. And then we want to get another adjustment layer, and this time we're going to get a circular mask, so the ellipse tool here. And if you hold shift and control at the same time, instead of just drawing the circle like this, if you hold control, the circle will draw outward from the center like this, and I'm just eyeing up the size of this. I think that should work. And then I can just go to the first layer, copy the stroke effect, and this will also copy the animation. I just need to make sure that I'm at frame 0 before I paste this here. And now we have a line drawing in a circle as well. You can see the line is thinner, and that's because the mask on this layer is actually cutting half of it out. So we have to go to the mask and then set this to none, and now you should get the full thickness of the line. Okay, let's go back to the main comp, and under project here I want to drag this new comp into the scene, and we need to make it 3D. I'm going to press P to bring up the position, and I'm just going to zero this out. And you'll start to see it appear depending on where you are in your animation. It's basically too large, and we need to flatten it also because right now it's standing upright. So if I go to scale, first of all, this needs to be a lot smaller, maybe something like 20, perhaps even smaller, maybe 15%. And then now I can rotate this. So if I press R for the rotation, I need to find the right axis to rotate this on, and I guess it's X. So I want to set this to -90, and now the line is on the floor there, as you can see. Now it's definitely still too large, I think. Let's look at the example again, and if we look here, the circle ends, even before the E here, and in this scene it goes way past and goes all the way to where the D is over here. So let's make this slightly smaller some more, so maybe 10%, and I think this is more correct. We obviously need to blend this better, so if you go to the lines comp, right click, set the blending mode to screen, and then you want to lower the opacity to something like I think 20 will work. Okay, that looks great. Next up, I want to create these particles that you can see floating in the scene. And actually this was just stock footage which I found for free on Vimeo. Basically this file here, it's just these particles floating upwards, and I thought it would just add a bit of extra atmos and depth to the scene. So if I go back to the main comp, I want to drag this into the comp here, press the 3D switch to make the layer 3D, and this time I don't want this layer to react to the lights. I can see just peeking into the frame over here. So first of all, maybe let's just position it correctly. It's too large, so we need to make it smaller. I think around 20 will work, and then just move it back to the center of the frame. Let's go back in here. I'm going to press P to bring up the position, and I want it to be around -50 in Z space. So it's going to be in front of the text, but then I can zero out the X and Y position like this. I'm going to press A twice because I don't want this to be affected by the lights. I want to go to the material options here and set accept lights to off, and the same for shadows, and then I can just set the layers blending mode to screen, and now this particle should be floating around in the scene. Let's hide everything again and just adjust how this looks. Maybe make it smaller. I think I'm going to move it up slightly, and then let's see what that's going. Make it smaller even more, so maybe something around 12%, and then I'll get the ellipse tool, just double click this to create a mask. Press F and feather this by about 200, and then let's go to the mask expansion and then bring this in by 100, just to make sure that there's no abrupt cutoff of the particles on the edges here. And then I'm just gonna bring this line up because I only want these particles to be floating in front of the logo up here and not in front of the floor down here necessarily. So something like this should work. It's just extra detail which is not completely in your face, but it does add to the scene, in my opinion. If we play this back from frame 0 and just move back like this, the particles may start to enter the frame before you want them to. Certainly for me, I think this is too early. So from 3 seconds, I think I just want to animate the opacity of the particles. So start at 0, and then at 4 seconds, that's maybe when I'm going to set this to 100. So the particles will just kind of fade in as the camera moves back like this. And I like how that looks. Okay, the final element in the scene is this lens dirt texture. This was also done with optical flares. So if I create a new solid, let's call this lens dirt. Click OK. I'm gonna go to Effect, Video Copilot, and Optical Flares. And in Options, under Global Parameters, I want to go to the Lens Texture section here and set this to, I think it's Grime. I'm not sure which one I used again, but if I just go through these, I think I'll know when I see it. Okay, so I used the Dirty preset here, but you can try out the other ones and see what they look like. I'm gonna click OK, and I'm gonna use the light positioning again, and I only want this to attach to one of the lights in the scene, and it's maybe the key light, right? So I'm gonna go back to the settings here. Let's use a light which starts with K, but there isn't K on this list, so I'm just going to change the name of that light to A key, so that if I go back to optical flares, I can use a light which starts with A. The flare is going to attach to one of our lights, and actually it doesn't matter which one it attaches to, really. I'm going to set the scale of this to 1, which means the light will be almost invisible, but the texture is, it stays in the same place. I'm gonna set the blending mode to screen. This is definitely too bright, so let's dial back the brightness. I think I'm gonna have it at about 40, something like this, just to give me more texture and atmosphere in my scene. And that's it. That's the final element. And then the last step, as always with most projects, is to just do some basic color grading. I'm not going to use any plugins for this, just so you guys can maybe see how the other built-in tools work. If I get a new adjustment layer, I'm going to go to Effect, Color Correction. Let's get a Levels Adjustments, maybe, and play around with this, and maybe just create some more contrast in the scene. So something like this, just darkening the blacks and brightening the whites. Not a lot of difference, but that's just the first step. We can get another effect. I'm gonna get the color balance effect, and let's put some tone into those shadows. So I'm gonna go to red here, and let's maybe set that to -5. These controls are very sensitive, so even if you use small numbers, you will see a difference. Maybe -10 for the red balance in the shadow section. Let's set the blue to 10, which is going to make the shadows quite cold, and maybe put a bit more green into this, just to give it a bit more tone rather than just complete grayscale. It just looks more interesting. And then if you want to, create a small amount of contrast, you can change the highlights too. So let's have more red. So let's say maybe 15 here. And I'm just typing these numbers, but you can actually just slide this left and right and see what kind of result you get. But I think this here looks okay. And again, this is where you can, it's just free reign for you. Just do whatever you want and see what that looks like for you. One final thing, you could add some noise. So if I just type in noise over here, let's get the noise, and I'm going to set the amount of noise to maybe 5, really low, but you can start to see it in the dark areas here. So that's it. I just wanted to show you some basic ideas for compositing. So take what you've seen here, and hopefully you've learned some new things to apply to your own work. That's it. That marks the end of this tutorial series. It's been quite long. It's a new format that we've been trying out, would like to know what you guys think, and also if you have any suggestions for not just tutorial videos, but just any videos in general. VideoFort has a lot of things in place which allow us to create various types of content. So it could be tutorials, which we already do. It could be live action videos, or anything else that you can think of. So let us know what you would like to see in the future on this channel. One of our guys is traveling down to London from LA. They're going to the YouTube space in London to do some interviews. So if you are curious about anything or have any questions that you'd maybe like to see addressed, then by all means, just leave a comment below or contact one of us directly, and we'll do our best to listen to what you have to say. But that's it from me for now. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.